Good morning. This is part of the project of Likkutei Sichos. Likkutei Sichos, Parshas Boy. It's Yud Shevat. It's printed in, as we said, Likkutei Sichos, page 129. Aleph. Kvei Kedushas Moedi v'chomi Admer Bal HaYilula Verheintige Shabbos hat Zelt. As well as sein Vater, Kvei Kedushas Admer Mer Shabbos Shmos Eden. Hat auch geheim gehen in Cheder. Hat noch der Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek gelebt und hat ihm dann beim Reinführen in Cheder zugeworfen, zugekehrt und dabei gesagt, als Malach Michal hat ihm das geworfen. So, the previous Rebbe was your side. It's like this year we commemorate on Shabbos, tells over that when his father, the Rebbe Rashab, was a young child, he began going to Cheder, and the Tzemach Tzedek, his grandfather, was still alive. So, as the child was being brought into the Cheder, the Tzemach Tzedek threw candies at him, saying that Malach Michal had throwing candies at him. Is das bei ihm sehr neskabel geworden und hat nicht gewollt aufessen die zugekehrt. So, the Rebbe Rashab took the statement of the Tzemach Tzedek very earnestly, and he refrained from eating candies. While they seien bei ihm gewesen sehr teuer. Why? Because they were very precious by the Rebbe Rashab. Erev Pesach is given der Minhag weidet zu sein, die Keshenis von die kleinen Kinder. Hat der Tzemach Tzedek gerufen dem Taten und hat ihm gefragt, wo hat die zugekehrt. Hat sie demot gemusen aufessen. So, Erev Pesach, we know the Minhag is that the spot on the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, that the children's pockets were customarily inspected for chametz. So the Tzemach Tzedek called his grandson and inquired where he kept the candies. It was time for the Rebbe Rashab to eat the candies. That's the story. For der Sipper, for all the Sippuren von Rebbe Sinisienu, befragt das Sipper wegen dem, was so hat passiert bei sie allein, kämen Arist and kamen heroes. Many lessons can be learned from all the Rebbeim's stories, especially stories about themselves. And these lessons have a lesson not only on not only on education. There is dort Messiah or Tazach Chinuch davon haben, like the Rebbe Friedrich Rebbe concludes that such an education is crucial. Was his Muglish for Parsha Sinim ben Negela Pesach we got the Bincha, like we emphasize in this week's Parsha. You should tell your son, why if you shall bincha, shall you and your son shall ask. Or oich kama in yani halachis and isher chametz kiet to bezach as eich v'yinem like them by Parsha Sinim. We can learn many different isurim of chametz and other halachas derive from this. Has a lot of halachic points that we can learn from this story. Okay, so now the Rebbe asks in base, l'cheir darften verstehen, wie bald die zugekehrt sein bei ihm, kweit dushas admer Rashab nishmosei eden, given a sehr teuer, as hat sie nicht gewollt aufessen. If the candies were so precious to the Rebbe Rashab that he didn't want to eat them, all right, and that's why he kept them by him as a like sentimental. He didn't want to eat it. But this is there's something very precious. About this, because they were given from the Tzemach Tzedek. Harvos had the Tzemach Tzedek gewollt bedafke as soll ze aufessen far Pesach. Why did the Tzemach Tzedek want that he should eat the candies before Pesach? Und hat nicht gelost sie opeten weiter durch verkaufen sie zusammen mit kol chametz. Why did he not permit the child to keep them until after Pesach by selling the candies to the goy with the rest of the chametz? Why did he demand that he has to eat the candies before he sell the chametz? Like we all sell the chametz. The Rebbe says, a befrat, especially as man gefindt azan, now go back daily Yisrael b'shayches sushirayim b'sifagim b'kumra from tzadik. We find this, that many Gedei Yisrael would like sell the leftovers they received from a tzaddik. When Oib es is given azach was hot kehat chametz, haben sie das verkauft mit Mecheres chametz. And if something was, first of all, many Gedei Yisrael would keep shirayim for a tzaddik, and if it was chametz, they would sell the chametz. Like they were bringing to 7, many different tzaddikim that they would sell the chametz, etc. So the Rebbe says, "Vi bald as the Tzemach Tzedek hat im das nit geheißen ton." Now, since the Tzemach Tzedek did not tell the Rebbe Rashab, or tell the Rebbe Rashab's father to sell the chametz. But when the Chachayed, you can daig sein as hot gehalten as in dem fall. So it must be that he held in this story. Aleph is thus page 129. Is thus osar yes will doch die Zach zudik bakumen lachar Pesach when is ready to be kiyumi from dem chametz. Now the halacha is we're going to see later if the Alter Rebbe holds of this, but hareid to be kiyumi, which means if somebody desires the chametz to remain in existence after chametz, according to many shittas, it's not a good sale. So the reason why it was forbidden to sell the candies, since the Rebbe Rashab would want to retrieve after Pesach, and hareid to be kiyumi, halacha is it's an invalid sale. Now, so that's Bepashtus why the Tzemach Tzedek did not want him to sell why the Tzemach Tzedek did not tell the Rebbe Rashab or the Rebbe Rashab's father to sell the chametz base. As held, page 130, Nitkein Bechida La'akum. Now, number 2 is selling the candies to a goy would not have helped. Why? The Mechiras chametz is mutter, Choshdas is karam. But we know the halacha is that Mechiras chametz is mutter, even though it's some sort of deception. There is it's a haram over here. We're going to be zudik bakumen dem farkuifin chametz dachar Pesach, and the fact is that you have in mind to get the chametz back after Pesach. And the halacha is that you're allowed to sell the chametz to somebody you know. Even though you know that the goy won't touch the chametz at all. Rather, he's going to keep it by him until after Pesach, and then he's going to return it. Because that is midrabanan. However, even though Mechiras chametz is like a haram, like the poskim say, but it's totally fine. But when there's haram and ikeres, which means it's a deception that it stands out, so basically we're saying the story that Rebbe Rashab, and Rebbe Rashab was a child. His grandfather gave him candies by his Arayin finish. He was probably 4 years old. And his grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek, told him that Malach Michal is giving him the candies, is throwing the candies in it. So right before Pesach, the Tzemach Tzedek called the Rebbe Rashab and asked him, "Where's the candies?" So because he kept it, he didn't want to eat it. So the Tzemach Tzedek told him, "Okay, now you have to eat up the candies." Now the question is, why did he have to eat up the candies? Sell the chametz like you sell like all chametz we sell, and then you get it back after Pesach. So the Rebbe says, perhaps you could say that the reason why the Tzemach Tzedek told him to eat and not sell it is 2 reasons. Because the halach is hareitze v'kiyumei. If somebody wants the chametz, somebody desires the chametz, so that the sale is invalid. And number 2, selling to a goy would not help. Why? Because what's the reason why selling to a goy helps, even though it's a harama? Is because this practice is midrabanan. But if it's harama and he cares, it's everybody it's known what you're doing. As a chacham, do not sell the chametz. Now he says, now why can't you not say this answer? He says, the truth, however, we cannot say these 2 answers. Why? The Alter Rebbe, the first of all, the Alter Rebbe does not mention the Isser of desiring a chametz to remain in existence when discussing the halachas of Pesach and Beis. Hadas liv a Pesach, before das Admar Zokin is Mechiras chametz a Mechida Gemuna be'efen as if verheet euch to resign euch bal yada bal yimotz euch der Reise, warum the chametz was been verkauft is nicht bechanit the bittul kefter. Now, according to most opinions, and according to the Alter Rebbe, the sale of a chametz is a very proper, it's a bona fide sale, to the extent that the sale also shields the seller from being over on bal yada bal yimotz and not seeing and not possessing chametz. Even when otherwise the isser would be midiraisa, since the chametz sold cannot be classified as hefker. And this is precisely the sale that protects the seller from being over on bal yada bal yimotz. So according to the Alter Rebbe, selling chametz is mamish a totally proper mechira. So first of all, you're going to say that the Tzemach Tzedek didn't want to sell the chametz because of Reitzah B'Kimid. The Alter Rebbe doesn't mention Reitzah B'Kimid on Shulchan Aruch. And number two, according to the Alter Rebbe, for sure, selling chametz is totally fine. It's a proper mechira. All right. So now, 3. L'chayda Boltman in der Zeilin Fall. The Zelten Fall can't gefinnen an andere Eitze wie zu halten ganz dem Chametz. Dit onkommendig zu Mechiras Chametz to any Yehudi. Now, seemingly, in the above case, you can have another solution that would have allowed the Rebbe Rashab to keep the Chametz without having selling it to a Goy. How is that? Mafkes and Chametz kedem zman Yisuri. The Chametz should have been declared hefker before the time that the Isser begins. Und Chachas Bittel v'Hefker by Chametz Helf nor min hatera, if nit to ever sein v'bayira b'ali matzeh, v'mirled des areis von v'leireh l'chash l'chayat atarei shel achenim shel Hefker. Now, although nullifying Chametz, declaring the Chametz Hefker only helps not to transgress midday Raisa of not seeing or possessing Chametz, as we learn from the pasuk, Chametz of yours you shall not see. In other words, your own Chametz shall not be seen, but you may see the Chametz of others and the chametz that is hefker. Aber the Chachamim haben Geser given as bittul v'hefker is nicht maspik mit darftem chametz bevar sein bepil mamish. The Chachamim decree that it's insufficient to nullify and declare the chametz hefker. Why? Well, mit darftem chametz bevar sein bepil mamish. Instead, you have to literally destroy the chametz. Right? So the chayda, we know Midei Raisa hefker works. So why couldn't the Rebbe Rashab be mafter the chametz, make the chametz declared ownerless, make the chametz hefker, and then he'll take it back after Pesach. Now, the Chachamim said hefker doesn't work. You have to actually be mevar the chametz. Now, why do you have to be mevar the chametz? If you remember, in the beginning of Pesachim, there's 2 reasons. You have the Ran and you have Taisvis. The Ran says the reason why you have to be mevar the chametz. The Rebbe is going to bring this in a second. So let's learn this side. Page 131. Now, Mekedach Mafkes and them Chametz nid nor believe, what is all verbleiben in seiner Schuss, nor by Mafkes and them Chametz soll es arrestem von seiner Schuss und weglegen im Schuss Ram backen hefker mamisch. Weil an Ort, wo es ging, nicht kein Menschen und dennoch sicher sein, der in noch Pesach. Now, to the Chayri, why don't you just make the Chametz ownerless, put it in a place that no one's going to really go, and then after Pesach, you can come and take it back. Now, was the chayda, the meat is min bavard leit bei the times the chacham ham saken gemen an bittel behefker allein so nit sein genug. And with this, you'll be able to make both opinions happy of why we're not mafker chametz. If bittel ba'almo is sagi midei raisa, so why do the chachamim require us to check chametz? Why do the chachamim tell us to mivar chametz? So there's 2 answers in the Rishonim. Number 1, Aleph, bittel behefker is talib machshati shel adam. First of all, bittul and hefker is totally on the thought of a person. Is min choishish as there betas mafker zayin nit believe shalom. So we're worried that since bittul is totally believe, so maybe person's not going to want to be mevatled with a full heart. So therefore, the ever die for us our race lemma from side of shus, and that's why he has to take it out of his shus, like the Ram says. Or number 2, this is Taisus Shita. It's at them time val ha'odom rogel b'chol hashanu b'chovetz. O machos and regelusi koravu l'shitcha sheyishkach as isurei oib das zayin begvula yefam imenu. Another answer is a person is accustomed to chametz year round, and he's prone to forget. He may forget the Isser, and if chametz is still within his borders, he may eat from it. So that's why the Chacham said, get rid of the chametz. Now, we find sources that state explicitly that this strategy, you could use the chatchila. I raised them in the chametz in rishus, and in mafkezah, you could take the chametz out of your rishus and make it ownerless. When I vegleg in makam have girl akoil, lachar pesach zerish the pesach, you can deposit it in a place which is accessible to everyone, and after Pesach, go ahead and reclaim the chametz. And the Rebbe says it appears like this in the stories about several chassidim whose custom it was to take shidai leftovers and the like, and it's loaded that they conducted themselves in this manner. Their tam bepashtus. So again, why couldn't the Tzemach Tzedek just tell the Rebbe Rashab or his father, go mafkir the chametz, and then afterwards take it back? What's the big deal? The Rebbe says this: the tam bepashtus was the Tzemach Tzedek kadazin nit case in turn. What's the reason why the Tzemach Tzedek did not instruct the Rebbe Rashab to do this? Hagam gefind as like kamedeis megmen mafkir zayin farzmani suri befrad machal hefker b'didei to zeicha zayin dem machar beis. We find in many poskim that many authorities that a person can declare the chametz ownerless before the time of the Isser, and particularly in an ownerless place, with the kavanah of reacquiring after Pesach. Aber Mishara Pesachim is mashma, as das half nit. When I say Paskin dal the Rebbe, I feel nicht makom mufker lakel tzor shefkin and lagan bepivu belibai. Lo ye bedaiti b'shas hefker lachsu lazakas belakra Pesach or lo yikad meno acher shemish bedaiti kain and hefker gomer bar hu kishalei mamish. Now the Rebbe says, accordingly, if he deposited somewhere freely accessible to everyone, he has to declare it outright ownerless, verbally and in his heart. He should not have the kavanah when he declares it ownerless to return it and reacquire it after Pesach if another does not acquire it first. But Alter Rebbe says, if he does such a thing, it's not ownerless in a complete sense and is still considered entirely his. But if Pesach dishli yavrlo b'vayiro b'yimatzu Pesach shomut elastic kenach atchilim mikom mokem achar Pesach asur l'chol adam yisol anas b'meno. Even when the chametz is found cast in an ownerless place, having been cast by Yid before, let's say, the 6th hour of Pesach, so he does not violate the Isser of b'yiro b'yimatzu, which is permitted to done initially. Nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe says for any Jewish person to benefit from it, it is going to be asur. So l'chayro,
that's it. And from it
after Pesach, yeah. So why wasn't he mafkir? Because the Alter Rebbe says, if you're mafkir, not believe shalom, and you're going to after Pesach, the Alter Rebbe says, how do you kishlei mamish? It's mamish yours, and it's not considered after, so it doesn't work.
You salt a guy, we know it.
So we said before that the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold a maritza b'kiyumei. The Alter Rebbe doesn't mention maritza b'kiyumei in Shulchan Aruch. And at the end of the day, the Apostle will say that this haram, yes, it's a haram. First of all, it's not a haram in Yikeres. You're not saying like outright, I'm selling it for like... Oh, so the question is, that's what we started the sikh there. Why, the Rebbe Hashem had his sugik is... Yeah, so why couldn't he just sell the chametz? What was it? So it's obviously in Ruchni that the Tzemach Tzedek did not want the Rebbe Hashem to sell it to a guy. He wanted him dafka to eat it. I want to see. Oh, so the Rebbe's going to go. All right, so that's another question. That's the Rebbe's going to go on Dalit. Okay, still a little bit more. Dalit says, "Aber schwer zu sagen, as das ist der Tam none." It's very difficult to say that this is the reason in our case. Reishis retzich da wegen zugekehrts, like you said, was es bechalet bar evsis fananen in them chametz. First of all, in candies, I'm dafka this chametz over there. When I feel like says da, even if there is chametz, is those nor taruvis chametz from kedem at Pesach, but we're dan batal b'reiv. And even if you want to say that there is chametz there, it's chametz before Pesach, and chametz before Pesach is always batal b'reiv. Or let's say besamach batal b'shishim, or it's nita in them kain bebayira by matzah. Did I say the bana? There's no isser of chametz for Pesach is always batal b'reiv or batal b'shishim. So what's the worst case that's going to happen over here? Who says the candy is at chametz? And even if the candy had some sort of chametz, it's batal b'reiv before chametz. Hey, then more so, was azay hefker help nit is doch zu leben tam was jeder Mensch vet azay tal kidei zu kennen hanaben from the chametz after Pesach. This that the hefker doesn't help is because every single person is going to do this and have ana after Pesach. Nid dan aber ribald hat sai vi nit bidei zu anaben for the tzugekers Pesach ifshu. The Rebbe Hashem never wanted to eat these tzugekers, these candies. I feel it without mechira, even not in the way of selling. And how they nor gewollt halten ganz. He just wanted it to be complete. Was das is not a subject that I. Now, if you're going to attach the heter or that it's only a suffix that I see the taruvas chametz dar bechlal haben a hefker vir bechlal. There's a whole machlokes if taruvas chametz not chametz mal. If taruvas chametz have to have hefker beer. With fratas is not English. It's not even very common. Can sein as in dem Fall haben der aber mal gefühlt nicht gewinnen an oder hefker is only as oder hefker is only maspers and it could be that in this case Bechlal, that it's only Tarubas Chomas. And the subject Bechlal, those Tarubas Chomas, could be the Chachamim didn't require you to make the Chomas Hafker. Or Mekenit Fragen, if the Gatz Klal is a Shachal B'Tariya now, as the Gatz in you from Lechin B'Hafker is Shaykh B'Nid Zan. Now you can't ask on the general Shachal B'Tariya that Bechlal Lechir is not Shaykh. The Baldas is Letzich though, Vegan Achefis for Nakotan, but this can their Koin is B'Das Achedes. We're talking about an object that belongs to a cotton could be koina only with das acheres. Over nit maknezayt or the mafkezayt. He cannot. A child is not able to makne. That's why on the first day of Chamas, on the first day of Sukkot, we say first you take it and then your child. Why? Because a child could be kaineh but cannot be maknet. A child could acquire, but he cannot de-acquire it. Now, warum by a cotton, asemech al shulchan aviv is the din, as the metzia was a gefind, matana was a create, is this shel aviv. V'meil liktei foter the chiyuv to verkaufen as to a gun or the mafker sein. When my high time is moving us from them, sipar now came in nitum daig sein as late as a machzedek, that cotton muzer in Balidol by Motz in Chayv Lafishim Mezet. Chometz Cotton Shamal of Pesach is also by no. Warum? The issue of them was dor. It's not given by the Chometz al Pidin is the Shayach zum Tatan Agadol. So the Chayda, this whole din of selling the Chometz about being Keda and not being Maked, it's only Shayach by the father. Ubechlal Tzarech Ian see me can them from them taking anal Sibur anal Reisling Alachas and him din the Yisr Chometz when he get the Chodim. A Yisr dor that's a very Chometz Rabban after. Nor Safik Chometz, I think you Yuchad Lushcher and Meganashto was when Mahad Gmem Betachla Sadik. So that ever says. In general, we have to understand whether any halachas could be derived from this story about the halachas of the Isser of Chometz applying to everyone. After all, the story discusses Chometz Midrabanan and possibly only doubtful Chometz. And this scenario discusses very common involving a household that's very medayik in Mahudr and Tena Mitzvah. So now the question is, again, weiter, we want to know why didn't the Tzemach Tzedek instruct at least the Rebbe Sham's father to actually sell the chametz and not just eat it before facing this. Okay, just a quick announcement.